Okay, so today is Colin's last day with us. And 20 years ago today, we lost our nanny. This was my mom's mom to cancer. And so that was weighing on us all week. And of course, we woke up, knowing that that was the day today, that we were going to have to make this decision. And so we got up early and went back to the hospital, listened to the same news from the doctors again. And I just started praying for the Lord to show me what He wanted me to do. And Aaron and I had a lot of conversations about just whether or not Colin was saved, whether or not he knew the Lord. And, ultimately, we can't know. And so we just kept talking about that and praying and talking to Him, hoping that He could hear us. And we were just searching for some sort of peace in this decision because it was so hard. And the hospital brought in all kinds of snacks and drinks, and they put our whole family in a room, and it was aunts and uncles and cousins and great aunts and great uncles, and we were all in there and discussing our options, which were few. We could continue to keep him on life support and wait, but he had been off the sedatives for well over 24 hours. The CAT scan didn't show brain activity, and machines were running every part of his body. And so to leave him sitting there longer with his leg in the condition it was in, it was poisoning his body, and it just wasn't the best option to leave him in that condition. And so we all talked, and everyone kind of gave their yes. I was the last one, and all I did was nod my head and cry. And we left the room, and I was still just looking for peace and for assurance from God that He had him. And the hospital had needed to know something about his life insurance, and I knew he had it. I didn't know how much or where it was even through. And so I was trying to track that down. And so I was trying to log into his bank account, which I was on, but I had never logged into it before. And I knew his username because it was the same for everything. But I got to the password page, and there was a security phrase. I don't know if you have that on your online banking, but they give you a security phrase so that you can answer it and they know it's you before you even get to the password. And his was faith in God. And I just cried, and I showed Aaron, and I was like, I think I'm ready. I think, that's the Lord just telling me I have him. You can let him go. And so we set a time. I think it was 6:30. And all the family and friends came in and out. And when it got closer, they gave us each time to go in individually to sit with them and to say what we needed to say. And when it was my turn, I went in and I sat down next to him, and I just begged him to stay. I just begged him to give us some sign of life and to blink or to wake up or to squeeze my hand or something so that I could hang on to him a little bit longer. And of course, there was nothing. There was just no life left in him. And so after everyone was done, we all went back in the room and surrounded him, and I sat on his left side, and I just put my hand over his heart. They had already removed all the tubes and machines, all the wires that were connected to him so that we could be closer to him. And he had no air in his lungs. It was just fluid. And I mean, every exhale, that's all there was fluid. And it took longer than we had expected for him to pass, but I just sat next to him with my hand over his heart, and in my head I was singing "You Are My Sunshine." That was a song my granny always sang to us, and I was telling him out loud, "It's okay, you can go," but in my heart I was just begging him to wake up and to stay for some sort of miracle to happen. But at 7:22 p.m. on August 12th, 2013, Colin died. And the nurses told us that he was gone, and they had us leave the room so they could all do what they needed to do. And I stood in the doorway when they told us that we could go back in, and I just didn't. I looked at him and I was done looking at him in a hospital bed. And I was concerned about leaving and getting his clothes that he would need for his funeral. And it was late, and I was afraid stores were going to close. I don't know, it seems ridiculous now, but at the time it felt important. And how Colin would have been dressed would have been important to him, and I knew that. And so we got our stuff together. I looked at him that one last time, and I walked out of the hospital, and we went to Target, and I bought him clothes, and I still remember what they looked like. And I remember the cashier commenting on them, on the studded belt and the jeans and the button-up shirt. And I remember looking at her, and I wanted to say, these are for my brother that just died. Like, I wanted to be able to say that to her, but I couldn't. I couldn't say out loud that my twin brother just died at 25 years old. And so we bought the clothes and got in the car and went home, and I went into my bathroom and got on my knees and was just curled up in a ball and let out sounds that I didn't even know if they were sounds. Honestly, they came from someplace so deep it was just silence. And I cried and I cried and I cried. I cried all night long. I woke up the next morning and I remember looking in the mirror and not recognizing myself. I didn't look like me. I had physically changed to me. I looked totally different. I just didn't recognize the person looking back at me. And I remember Kevin looking at me, and it was almost like he didn't recognize me either, but he just didn't know what to say to me or what to do. And so we had to meet with the funeral home director that day and got ready and went in. And the first thing that my mom said to me was, they can't have an open casket. And I'm like, what? I don't understand. And so some details were given to me that I won't give to you, but in a way it was reassurance, and it gave me more peace that we had made the right decision. They had told us it's the result of pumping air and fluid into a lifeless body for 5 days. And so his casket had to be closed, and that was a whole nother grieving process for me. And when we went in, I could just see him laying there, even though I couldn't. We poured over pictures, and we had every picture from our childhood on that we could have of him on poster boards, and he really had just a beautiful funeral. But the moment that they started carrying his casket away from me, I can't even tell you what I felt. Just complete emptiness, completely alone. I nearly passed out. I just kind of quit breathing for a minute. And they loaded him up, and that's the day that, we buried my brother on the 16th. And so grieving over the next, probably for well over a year. Our birthday was awful. I cried myself to sleep every night for over a year. About a year after Colin died, we found out we were having another baby, and we named him after Colin. And so we have a little Colin. He's 9 now. And I just know that's what he would have wanted. I looked for other names. I tried. I did everything I could because I was just afraid it would be weird. And it was a little bit at first. He was baby Colin for a long time, probably longer than he should have been. But I know that honored my brother, and I know that that's what he would have wanted. And so I wanted to share just a little bit about my grieving process, because I know people struggle with that and they don't know what it should look like, or maybe they don't know how to do it. And I can tell you, I don't either. I just did the best that I could, and I still do the best that I can with missing him and living my life without him. But for the first couple years when I was in real grieving, over a year, it was all the time. And then it kind of lessens over time. And then it's the anniversaries or the holidays or the birthdays. When we go on vacation, I get sad. I don't know what that's about. I guess because I'm experiencing something that he can't, but I still grieve during that time. I enjoy my family, but I always drive home and I cry during that time. And so I just let myself feel it. And I talked to people when they would talk to me about it, and I longed for people to bring him up and to let me talk about him. And now I still allow myself to grieve the week of from his overdose to when he died, and after the funeral process. That was awful. And on our birthday, I just let myself be sad. And I go through the whole process. I go through the last day I saw him to the day he overdosed. Everything that I've done with you this week, that's what I do. And in the beginning, it took me maybe all day on our birthday to get through that process. And now it's maybe an hour. I'll watch a slideshow, I'll look at pictures and videos, and I'll be sad and I'll cry and I'll go through what it felt like to lose him. And then I dry my tears and I get up and I enjoy my life. And I do that as often as I need to. If I'm having a day, then I just take myself through that grieving process again real quick. And sometimes it lasts longer, and sometimes it's maybe 15 minutes. But that's just how I've learned to remember him and to grieve him and mourn him and, just not let him become something that I'm ashamed to be sad about, because I'm not. He was my brother, and I will miss him every day for the rest of my life. I still dread my birthday. I don't like turning older without him, but I'm grateful for the years that I've been given. I'm just sad for the years that he lost. But I do believe that he is with the Lord, and I've been given so much peace throughout the years in different ways, starting with that security phrase on his bank account, faith in God. About 6 months after he died, I had a dream about him, and he was sitting on our couch in our living room. And when I was walking down my hallway towards the living room, I could feel him. Like I knew I was going to turn the corner and he was going to be there. And I turned the corner and he was sitting on the edge of the couch and he was smiling at me. And he just looked at me and he said, "It's okay, sister. Like, why are you even upset, And I woke up and just had so much peace about everything, about the decision we had to make and whether or not it was the right one, and just things that had happened after that. And before that, you beat yourself up thinking, what could I have done differently? But I'll never forget the look on his face when he looked at me and said, "It's okay, sister." And so that's a dream that I hold so dear in my heart, that he's okay. And I trust that so much. And so if you've watched this and you're someone who struggles with grief, please reach out to me. I don't have all the answers and I don't do it perfectly. But if you just need someone to talk to about the person that you lost and you love, because you feel like people have quit listening and like they're not invested, I will listen to you tell the same story about that person a million times, and I'll just let you tell it, and I'll sit and I'll listen to it like it was the first time every time, because I know how important that is. So just let me know if you need to talk. I'm still here. I might keep doing these, maybe on our birthday or however the Lord leads. Thank you for listening to me and for walking through this with me.